Okay, so you would be the brain on this next question that I want to ask. So, skill gap in ESO. Do you think it's gotten larger or smaller over time? Being the top 5 guy that you are, having seen all this content from guys like just Pelican ESO is one of the ones that I see a lot.
Pelican's a great example because when you watch him play, he makes no mistakes.
Yeah.
And I think that is a good example to bring up when we talk about the skill gap in this game. For a duel, a one-on-one, the skill gap is much lower.
Okay.
I think there's a certain point where you plateau as a one-on-one player and you'll just stalemate against someone equally as good as you.
Right.
Unless you guys are both playing such high damage builds, then it goes pretty 50-50. And I don't know, like, I'm not really into dueling, so I can't attest too much to that because I haven't dueled any like really top level players outside of whatever one-on-ones I have open. But yeah,
honestly, I think you're onto something because there's not as much
going on. The reason why
there's not as many builds out there. There's one clear-cut meta that you know is going to outperform all the others, and you don't see a lot of variety like you do in open world.
And open world is a different beast, right? You're rewarded for different things in open world where you'd be punished in a duel. Like mobility is one of the big things, right? In a duel, you don't get rewarded for mobility. In fact, it's one of the few places where mobility is likely just going to punish your build. So you should just invest in something else entirely. But like open world, you know, I always like to put it this way. And I mean, no disrespect to duelers when I say it, but like, why would I do a 1v1 in a duel? It's just a dumbed down version of a real 1v1, which would be like an open world 1v1 using terrain and stuff like that. And that is my idea of a real 1v1, where you use everything in your kit to fight your opponent.
Line of sight, not just like, everything.
Yeah, not like, oh, you can't use that tree. Why can't I use that tree? Because I said so, but my build needs to use that tree. I don't care. Like,
there's something special to luring a player into a terrain
spot.
Yeah.
Yes. And it is and that is a totally legitimate, you know, in my mind, that's a totally legitimate win in a fight, is to use the mental aspect of a fight. And I think like we'll look at a UFC fighter, you know, they get in the cage, they talk trash to each other, they mentally prepare before the fight. You have to be mentally prepared for a fight, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same in like a video game. You just play with someone's mind. And that's like, if you can beat them because they're mentally weaker than you, not better or worse at the game, that's where their shortcoming was, you know, and that's just how it is.
That's
but
how a lot
I
of
think,
work.
But sorry, continue.
I don't mean to cut you off. That's how a lot of tank builds work. Is genuine in this game, at least. A lot of players get infuriated when they can't kill you right away. And a tank,
and that's how you kill with a tank.
You notice that you have all the time in the world to just sit there and look at everybody,
and you watch them waste and waste. And at the point where you see that they've got nothing in the tank, then you're like, my turn, right?
See them and destroy them. That's it.
Yeah, and that's something that, as someone who plays very aggressive, like fast-paced builds, I've had to learn myself, is to really keep that understanding and like mental calm of like, I'm not going to get lured out by this guy, right?
Well, the people that,
and it happens to everybody still. Like I still do it all the time, but like you're more aware of it as you play more.
Yeah,
you know,
you can. But I see you do that a lot.
Yeah, when it comes to the skill gap, though, I think Pelican's a great example because he doesn't. When you watch Pelican's footage, just any piece of footage, you'll notice he doesn't make mistakes. He does sometimes, but very seldomly, and that is what shows the skill gap in this game. And the reason I say that, you know, dueling is a lower skill gap is because when you're fighting a 1v1, you make 2-3 mistakes and you lose, right? But if you fight 1vx, you make one mistake, it's over. Right. That's the stakes. The stakes are just higher. It's just how it is. You have to work harder for the kill, and you have to work harder not to die on average, and that's just what it is. And you look at a guy like Pelican, and he fights 8 people, and he won't make a mistake. And that speaks volumes to his not only mechanical skill, but his, you know, game knowledge down to the core, every ability, everything, the mental skill going into it as well. The fact that he's in that fight, you know, I think one of the big things that a lot of people who don't 1vx would be surprised of if they got in their first fight is their heart pounding the whole time. And if you want to win a fight like that, you don't have your heart pound. You need to be calm. And that's that's, you know, so it being top tier in a game like ESO, I think that for world PvP, the skill cap is so high that you need to fulfill all of these things to the point that you play perfectly, you know? And ESO is a game where you have limited resources. So it's all about resource management. So theoretically, you can play perfectly if you're aware of everything around you and you make no mistakes.
So
Theoretically, you can make.
Yeah. Obviously,
and that's what makes it so high. And that's why I think we have players that you see them go out in PvP and they dominate everyone. Yeah. And it's not because they cheat. It's not because their build is better or worse than the next guys.
Right.
It's because they have achieved that level of perfection in the game, and it shows. When someone plays perfectly, you can't stun them, and that's like that's a hard thing to accept, and a lot of players don't fight people who play like that. To be honest, I don't think there's a lot of players in this game who have achieved that level of, like, you know, unstunnability. I think that's a great way to put it.
The amount of processing that your brain does in a 1vx is unreal. Like seeing someone snipe from 40 yards away in game
while you're fighting 3 other people, right?
Like on camera, and you turn, block that, or just block it from, you know, because 360 blocking, and it's unreal, man. And seeing like a Crystal Frags coming at you, a snipe, and then you've got 2 or 3 guys in your face just pounding dots on you, and just it's brutal, man. And you just got to commend the players that do it instead of bringing them down and accusing them.
That's like the whole top 5 series for me too, is all about not only building the community, because let me be very frank, and we talked about a little bit about this a couple days ago when we just chatted by ourselves, but my journey through ESO was hard. You know, I started in ESO with a very small channel, and it was very hard. And I got a lot of help from different community members, as well as like emotional support and stuff. And a good friend, Patty, who told me, you'll make it one day. And I was like, yeah, maybe I will. And it helped me, it helped me push, I guess. It helped me wake up and say, I'm going to do it today, because that's really what it is. If you want to do anything in your life and be successful, you have to get up every day and say, I want to do this today. Even if you don't, you have to do it. Yeah. And, for me, the whole top 5 and the whole community stuff, like, I want to see ESO grow. I want to see the community grow. And if I can do anything to grow that community, and speed that process up for others, I know it will come back and help everybody, not just me, everybody. And it's so beneficial to do that. I think that, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people helped me to get to where I am, and I owe it to everybody else to help them too,
Hey, man, that's no, I couldn't agree more. And really growing the community is where we're going to see the changes that we want for the game, rather than letting the devs just kind of run things into the Crown Store and just focus on that. Building our community and building the PvP aspect of the game, or just the PvP community in general, will give us a bigger outcry. It'll give us more changes that we want to see.
And PvP has, a very weak voice right now. When you look at PvP content creators, there's me, and there's like, Pelican and stuff, and Dragu. There's smaller channels like that. And then there's Dots, and Dots isn't entirely PvP focused either. But, I think when it comes to like PvP stuff on YouTube, I think the highest views out of all the channels right now for PvP content. And like, it's a little concerning, because I want to see PvP be huge. I've been here a long time doing it, and I want to see it really grow. And, I've worked really hard to get to where I am now, but I want to have other people too. I don't want to be like the only PvP guy or whatever in 2-3 years from now. You know what I mean? And that's huge for me. I need to have that in this game, because I know that will help not just me, but the game go better. Like you said, just the community will have more opinions and stuff. And I don't know, I guess what I'm alluding to is it scares me a little bit at how small the PvP community is in this game. Well, it's not very huge anymore, and it's really shrunk.
We saw the most changes to PvP combat, nerfs, buffs, things like that, when it came to, I think one of the biggest times in ESO PvP was when you had guys like Cypher and doing that multi-stream podcast that he had.
Cypher's at like 100K or whatever at the time. Deltia would PvP too. He's 200K plus. Like, these were huge channels and
huge voices of content that were actually projecting their ideals to the devs and saying, hey, this is, and they did it in an organized format when they brought up that podcast and they said, okay, here's, it was like Cypher, King Richard, Lefty Lucy, and who was the,
I think it was just those 4.
and then they would bring on guests, right?
Yeah, they wanted to bring me as a guest once, but I told them no.
I can't blame you there.
Well, I did want to do it. I had something going on in my life, so I couldn't.
Okay. Well, I mean, anyways, what I'm getting at is we saw the most changes during a time like that, and I think you're right. Our PvP community is it's lacking.
I don't know. I feel like
small.
I just want to see the community grow, man. Like, as weird as it says, like, I want more competition in my field because it means that there's more people interested in it, you know? Yeah. And I feel like right now, you know, I doing my best to keep it growing, but there's no bigger channel out there for me to look at. Like, look at the PvP views they get. Can I move up there? And that scares me a little bit because I'm not like, I don't think I've plateaued growth wise yet. At least I haven't in my stats and stuff, but it's, you know, concerning, I guess.
So let this be a lesson to anybody out there that wants to create content, that wants to dip into the PvP side of things, or just content creating in general. We need you in the community. So build your channel up and like put something. And I
encourage people so much too. You know, I always say when people come in and they're like, how'd you get started? I'm like, I just fucking did it. All you have to do is just start doing it, and it's going to be hard, and you're going to stream to 0 people for a while.
Well, but honestly, I think the top 5 is one of the biggest creators for creators, if that makes sense. So you're going to give a platform to people that might not have given themselves a chance before, and it kind of, I don't know, it gives them a platform. I like that a lot.
You know, I don't talk about this a lot on stream and stuff, but I get a lot of personal pleasure out of like putting people in the top 5 and then looking at their YouTube channel a few days later,
seeing it grow,
like a lot. And it makes me feel really good because when I was at 10 subs, going from 10 to 100 is very hard.
Yeah, man.
And like, that first step is huge, and it makes me feel so good because I know how hard that first step was. And like, you know, it means a lot. It really does. It's that first little wedge in the door.
Every single comment, every single like that you get. And most of it, I remember it was like telling your friends. It was, most of it was like telling your friends, like, hey, go check out my YouTube channel and like comment and like on it, man. Like, do this favor for me. I remember popping into Discord channels and like, or TeamSpeak channels and like guild messages and stuff, and be like, hey guys, just put up a video, like please go like it and subscribe. You know, that was my first 100. Was mostly friends and buddies that didn't give a shit. They were like, dude, I've seen you in game. Like, I don't want to watch you on YouTube right now.
And it takes a long time.